Hello, everyone, and welcome to Twillow Talk. I'm Tanis Coughlin from the Twillow Lifestyle Community, Twillow Lifestyle Academy, and I am a Reiki Master, Channel, Galactic Ambassador, Celtic Shamanic High Priestess. I do stuff. And I am here with my beautiful co-host, Jennifer Jurkofsky. Why don't you tell us about you, Jen?
Yeah, hi all, Jennifer Jurkofsky here. I am with Twillow Lifestyle, Twillow Academy, as well as my holistic self counseling. And I am a registered psychotherapist, certified Canadian counselor, intuitive life coach, Reiki master, Sahem master, Aqua lead. I go through all of them and I get the, what else is there? There's a Nocti.
Yeah, we're both Nocti.
Practitioner. Working with the energies all across the board. And that's...
I think we should coin the Master Intuitive Energy Healer.
Yeah.
Because that would cover all of the energy things. Because we both do a lot of modalities. So
a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And
but, there are different qualities of energy, right, guys? So that's kind of what it is, right? So.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. And I love, like Spiritual Alchemist, because that's the reality of it is like there is no one unit of anything that is used. And it's all about kind of combining the energies, combining the practices, putting them together and helping transformation, right? So, yeah.
I'm getting a little technical feedback here, guys, so I'm just going to put my...
Cool. I guess while you do that, let's talk about what's going on right now.
How about that? That would be awesome.
A lot of people are feeling it. So we were talking earlier and realizing that, last night across the board, all of us, even the kids, were saying it was a rough night. It's been rough. And it's interesting because, today up and through the 18th, we moved back in to gate 36, the gate of crisis. And it's, again, I'm sure you guys have remembered this because this is a cyclical thing, right? Like we're constantly going in this, in and through this. And so last time when we talked about it, we discussed how crisis moves us towards change, right? That we need it in order to help us make transitions. And the thing with this is to accomplish the change, we have to go through pain, confusion, upset, all the emotional stuff, right? Because 36 is in the solar plexus. It's in the emotional center, right? So all these emotions and things like that are going to come up. And so, the cycle is, again, this idea of, here's crisis. So now we have reflection, right? Yeah. And then how do we express change and allow for relief of that, right? And then we move back through it again. And so, again, I talk about Richard Rudd too with the Gene Keys, because I think that, the way that he brings out contemplations and things like that are really important. And so he talks about moving from turbulence to humanity to compassion, right? And so it's this whole idea of, being able to transform the emotional turbulence, right, into compassion. And so we activate that through the gift of humanity in allowing ourselves to be who we are and to have these experiences, right? And it's not easy, right? It's not easy.
And trying not to judge ourselves, right, for the experiences too, because we so often take it on as being something that we've done, and then the guilt and shame come in, and then it just lowers our vibration, guys. So, and sometimes, it's so funny because when we talk about these things and the transits as they come in, and we realize that it's a transit or that it's the collective reacting to something or whatever, I don't know about you, but for me, I all of a sudden feel, okay, it's not just me, right? It feels less heavy or whatever. And I realize when I feel into that it's like, If it's me, then maybe there's something wrong with me. But if it's the collective, then I'm okay. It's
Right.
mentality, even though I know that that's not really, productive in thinking that. But that is kind of, I think, how we often think about these things. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it allows us to let go of what's not ours.
right. Mhm.
Right. And yet with these transits, when they come in, they are collective, but they are also individual opportunities.
Right.
Right. And so, it's interesting with this one because, it's kind of equated to the idea of the dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
Experiences, right? So again, it's like, okay, here, look at this shadow with these, like, I think as Richard puts it, it's this idea of like mythic challenges, which I love the terminology,
Mythic.
right? But again, it's this idea of like, in the individual self, we're dealing with all of our own stuff coming up and having to process all of that. But then we're also tapped into the collective emotional turbulence of recognizing that, there is uncertainty
Mm-hmm.
and there's fear, and where there's crisis, we can grow, but we can also move into disaster if we're not willing to grow, right?
Well, and the
so there
disaster is the resistance to the change, right? It's
Yeah.
resistance to the growth, right? So that's, just so we don't scare people.
So we're really like, no, not like, who knows, whatever. The world will do what it does on that sense.
It does, yeah.
But, great work for us on an individual basis here is really about, can I go through this and allow this experience to open me up rather than close me down?
Yeah.
Right? Can I bring in compassion? Can I bring in grace? Can I allow these emotions to flow and not overwhelm me, overtake me, drown me? Right? Is that kind of, if we're sticking with the wave idea?
Yeah.
Right? It's really going back to riding that wave.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's interesting because these, we talk about these transits, and I always talk about them kind of very generically.
Yeah.
Right. But they are going to impact each of us differently, depending on what's defined, what's undefined. If you happen to have the gate 35, the gate of change, defined in your chart and not the 36, then when we move into this transit right now, you're looking at having a new channel activated, which is going to cause a whole other world of stuff going on.
Welcome to new, folks, if that's the case.
Well, and that's it. But I mean, that particular channel is the channel of transitoriness.
Right.
Right. And so now we're looking at not necessarily using logic and wanting change and seeking change and not always thinking it through, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but you want to make sure that whatever you do today, you're not going to be upset about a couple days from now when the transits change. Right. So
don't make any big decisions, guys.
The process of being mindful is really what it always comes down to.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to say hello to a few of our Facebook friends that have joined us. So we have hello to Cindy. Hello to Michelle. Nice to see you. Thank you. Good to see you as well. And hello to Monica. Thanks for joining us, guys. It's always great to have company. Please, we are so open to comment and for you to add to it. That's why we do these things live, because we love to have the interaction as well. So for those of you that haven't seen the show before, we usually do this. We talk about transits, or we talk about the state of the energetics in the world at the moment, which we're still having lots of solar stuff too happening, which really just it just like bumps the world kind of thing, right? So what we've got is this 11-year cycle with the sun that's creating this change. So we're in that 11-year, and the polar shifts that happen in the 11-year create all these solar storms that shoot out, lovely plasmic bursts, or solar flares, they call them. Occasionally we have coronal mass ejections that come with that, and that's like actually a little bit more solid that comes flying out. And when they hit our atmosphere, they bump the Earth's atmosphere, which creates a bump in the vibration of the Earth, and this creates a jump in the Schumann resonance scale. So the Schumann resonance scale it measures the vibration of the Earth. And that vibration of the earth has had a baseline of 7.8 hertz usually. Yeah, we've been like even off the charts in the last few days. So we've had I think there was an 18-hour, what they call blackout, which is when it's too high for even the equipment to read. Usually that's what it is. So we've had some really high spikes in vibration. So you guys have noticed things like headaches. This sleeplessness can be part of it. You may have felt like really kind of tired and discombobulated. You may have been a little bit more emotional because, when we have this jump in vibration that comes in, we end up with all of this stuff that we've pushed down coming to the surface. Because when we put in more light into our vibrational system, there's no room to hold on to the heavier stuff. So all of our fears come out, and our sadness and our grief and trauma and all that stuff comes to the surface. So really, please be really gentle with yourself, especially with this transit, because, change brings up a lot of fear for people as it is. So we just encourage you to really do lots of self-care and just be gentle, right? If you feel like you need a nap, try to fit it in. Try not to push yourself too much in the next little bit. Okay, guys? So we go over that stuff. And then we have a conversation. So Twillow Talk is all about, impromptu conversations is what it is. Authentic conversations about spiritual topics. And so this year we picked The Soul's Journey with James Van Praagh. So we usually pick a card and then we chat about it. So let's see what we get today. This ought to be interesting. Ooh, we have company. Chills.
You know what I was thinking about when you're talking about like the 11-year cycle?
Ooh. Yeah, go ahead.
You got the card?
I do. Go ahead. I'll share when you're done.
Okay. Well, I'm just thinking about like the cycle is the poles shifting, right? With the sun. And so understanding the dynamic that has on us too, right? Yep. So how do we ground? How do we connect? How do we make sure that we stay aligned and all in the midst of all of this, right? So I was just thinking about like different, energy practices and things like that can help us feel like we're connected, right? Like heaven and earth stretching, or, doing, in Eden Energy Medicine, she talks about like porcupine reactivity. So it's like flipping, your energies back again.
Okay.
Or even something as simple as a silver spoon on the bottom of your feet to help really kind of bring those energies back and ground them and stuff like that. So I just thought it would be like a cool thing to kind of share some of those practices as things to look at if you're really feeling thrown off or you're really feeling ungrounded during this time.
Yeah, for sure. Because we got courage.
Perfect.
So courage. Okay. I find the inner strength to face fear with confidence.
I love that. That's so perfect for right now.
It really is. Yeah. Yeah, we can't make this stuff up, guys.
I know, right?
We always get the card. I remember last week we were talking about something, and whatever it was, it came up in the card, and I was like, oh my goodness. So we can't make this stuff up. And I love that mandala on this one. It's just beautiful. So awesome. Michelle Marie says she pulled courage from the deck, from her deck today as well.
Oh,
from her Ganesha deck.
It's such a needed thing right now.
It is
courage to be able to face the turbulence that we're experiencing, to be able to embrace humanity for all that it is and really move into bringing that compassion in so that we can, transform ourselves and all. So
yeah, we have, a lot of that stuff, the transformation piece. It keeps coming up because it's such a big transformation for all of us, and it's everybody's going to go through it. This is not something that any of us are going to not go through, So it's kind of
Well,
like,
that's
how
it. I
do we
mean,
deal
even if
with
you
it?
have,
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. Yeah, I was just going to say, even if you have it already defined, the gate, like sometimes people are like, oh, well, I already have it. So, it's still enhanced, right? Like the transits are still enhancing. So just be mindful that it there is still going to be some stuff that comes up.
Yes, indeed. Indeed.
Bring in that compassion for sure.
Yeah, self-compassion does well, guys, right? Compassion for others, because we're all in this together, but also self-compassion. Big time.
Yeah.
So Michelle says she'd like me to draw a card for our presentation. So she and I are doing a presentation in April to a beautiful group of beings and, human beings, because we're talking about galactics. That's why I felt I needed to clarify that. So we're talking about galactic beings and stuff, and the galactic the galactic signs in your chart and stuff about, what's in your natal chart. So Michelle's the expert on that piece, but I'm bringing in the galactic energies and my galactic guides to kind of chat with us a little bit and tell us a little bit more info. All right, so let's pick a card. I don't have my usual cards here, actually, because I was at a trade show yesterday. Let's do this one. Let's do that, and then we'll get into talking about courage. So the galactic thing is coming up a fair bit. I actually was in a galactic class over the last 2 weekends. That was pretty cool. We had amazing contact, actually. And actually, that class took some courage for some of these people because they had not had any contact before. And so they started to have contact experiences. Looks good, Michelle. You are flying high right now, which may threaten others. Don't descend, because others will soon be inspired by your example. So that's an awesome card for our class.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Beautiful.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm. Are you going to pick one too?
I'm gonna do a couple for you. Awesome. Although we don't normally do cards on here.
We don't. But
I was told to grab these, so I'm doing it anyway because So here, these are the 3 I got from this one, and it's interesting because it's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right? So Akashic records.
Ooh, beautiful. Okay.
Right. Because you're accessing past life stuff with this stuff too.
Oh, well, yeah, we've both been other types of beings, as have you.
Yeah. And then ancestral realm.
Yeah, that too. Mm-hmm.
Right? Which is like, this is all stuff too that Michelle can look at in your charts if you ever get a reading from her, right?
So astrological tarot. Frequency. Sorry, what?
Angelic frequency.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, so you guys are right on course. You're doing exactly what you're expected to be doing, and you got the support to be doing it.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, we should have a show actually where we talk about galactic stuff, just because it's a little different from what we normally do. Just as an interesting topic.
Well, maybe we can do a segue one before you guys do your thing and talk about what we know about ours, so that people can understand kind of the dynamics of it, and then they can check out your.
Well, ours is like it's the one we're doing is at least this particular one is with a specific group that's already going through a whole program.
Oh, okay.
We've actually been asked to present to this group. It's a different program. So yeah, so we're quite honored to be asked.
Well, maybe it'll become something that you do for others too.
Well, it just might. It just might. If we're putting it in there as that, we can probably do that. So I think we can talk about that, and maybe we'll get Michelle on the show that day, and the 3 of us can have a little chat.
Very cool.
So stay tuned for that.
Well, have courage, have faith. You guys are
awesome.
You're moving in the way you're supposed to.
Perfect. So we're on track, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
So
and really, when we talk about courage, isn't that such a thing, right? To not always know, but to do what we feel is what we're supposed to do, and being able to move forward with that really is courage, right?
It is. Yeah. This is Michelle again. She's just commenting from the Twillow lifestyle group. That's why it's coming up as Facebook user.
Yeah, I don't know who anybody is on
I have it pulled up so I can tell who it is. She says, awesome. I'm so glad that we have angelic support. It helps that Tanis has them on speed dial. You two are the best things. I don't know about speed dial, but we chat. As do you, Michelle, and you, Jen. Yeah. We all talk to them. They're all, they're pretty.
Yeah.
They're awesome. So.
Definitely. Yeah. So courage. Right. Do you want to read the
statement again?
Do you still have the card?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just read the statement again. We'll get us back on
track here.
Back on track.
I find the inner strength to face fear with confidence. And so we could talk about that in terms of strength.
Yeah.
Courage and strength.
But I love the inner strength.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because it's not like muscles, right? Not your physical muscles. It's more your spiritual, emotional muscles.
Yeah.
Muscles.
Big bulky sweater. You're not going to say anything. Not that I have them anymore.
Yeah. No.
Okay. I'm getting weird.
Michelle says I'm learning. Yeah. You're good, hun.
Aren't we all?
We're all learning. We're going to be the whole time we're here. So, it's all good.
If we're not learning anymore,
we're not here.
We're not here. Yeah. And I think that's also part of courage, right?
Yeah.
Being willing to learn,
yeah.
Being willing to try new things, being willing to put ourselves out there and see where the experience takes us.
And
right?
Fail.
And fail.
Which is never a failure, right? In terms of that. Like I really like the first attempt in learning as the acronym for fail, right? I really like that. And as entrepreneurs, I mean, we jump into that. We have to jump into it with both feet, right? It's the entrepreneur journey is like, you have to be prepared to fail, right? Not in terms of overall, but you learn as you go. Like you can be like, look at COVID, right? We all had to show a lot of courage during COVID.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurial as well as personally, right? In terms of being flexible and figuring out what to do. And that's part of what that means in terms of having courage, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Well, and it's interesting. And I go back to, when we talk about crisis, because that's the gate right now.
Right. Which it's so perfect that we got courage, but
it's so perfect for us. And I love how I think it's Chinese, there's two strokes for the crisis, right? And one is danger and one is opportunity, right? And so how do we go into crisis? We go into it courageously.
Yeah.
And we have to, because we have to recognize that the danger is there.
Yeah.
But we also have to be able to see the opportunity. Right. And when we're able to recognize both, that's when courage has its place.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Because we're not courageous if there's nothing dangerous.
Well, yeah, true. I guess,
Right.
And it depends on what your danger you consider danger. I kind of prefer the term risk. I don't know why I prefer that. I find it a little bit less heavy than danger. Danger feels physical to me. I don't know. Yeah. It's just me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I also think it's really important not to sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
For what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there is risk for sure. But sometimes we do hurt ourselves.
For sure.
Sometimes it can be really rough, and sometimes we are in danger.
Yeah.
Right? And so how do we navigate that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we don't want to just jump in without conscious thought about what we're doing.
No. But at the same time, we have to look for the opportunity to navigate it. Right? And if we do, then we can bring in courage. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not like blindly running out into the middle of the street and being like, there's opportunity. I can run through cars. No,
That is not
no,
what we mean.
that is not what we mean.
Do not put yourself at risk
Um,
trying to be courageous. It's just, no.
No, but I mean, you think about socially the different dynamics that we experience in relationships, with work, with whatever. There's constantly limitation,
Mhm.
and there are constantly things that we bump up against.
Mhm.
And for some people, there is danger.
Yeah.
Right? And so it takes courage to admit that there's a problem. And it takes courage to say, I'm going to do something different.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
Right?
tough.
And that's really what this transit right now is really about. Right? It's about, I don't feel okay with what's happening right now.
Mhm.
Something has to change.
Yeah.
Right? And we can allow that to really, weigh us down and take over. And then we become debilitated.
Yeah.
We can't move. We can't take action. We can't do anything because it's too much. Right?
And that's when the
But if we can
fear
bring
is getting in the way, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But if we can bring in courage, we have an opportunity to take that step back,
Mhm.
right? And say, okay, when I see through the fear, I see through like this, right? That tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Right? But if I can take that step back and courageously look around, I might be able to see other opportunities and other ways of navigating this situation.
Yeah. And then we've got our fight or flight mode, which actually shuts off that part of our brain that creates this. So you're reprogramming that at the same time.
Mhm.
Do you want to show people that great exercise that you do?
Yeah, I was just going to say the basic exercise is probably a really good thing for this time.
Yeah. I think that would be really valuable.
Yeah. So a little bit of background, and then you can probably find more detail in one of our other videos, actually. I think we talked about this in the empath one for Christmas.
Oh,
that we did.
probably, yeah. So if you check the YouTube channel, guys, it's in
I
there.
think I did a big explanation in that one. But basically, autonomic nervous system, ventral vagal nerve, responsible for everything.
Especially the fight or flight, folks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is when we're in our ventral vagal state, we're socially connected, we're good to go, we're calm, we're able to navigate, right? Like when we talk about window of tolerance, right? We got this. We can flow. We can even navigate some of those rapids. We're like, yeah, I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But when we get into fight, flight, freeze, fawn responses, we're in survival mode. Right? Yeah. We're not thinking about navigating anything. We are either get me the heck out of here, bring it on.
Yeah.
We're hiding. We're going, yeah, okay, whatever you say.
Yeah.
Right? Like those are the states. And so we end up seeing a lot of conflict happen during those times, especially if two people are really reactive in those states.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because nobody's thinking now. And so being able to do an exercise like this, it's Stanley Rosenberg, and he's the one who talks about this. Actually, I have his book here in Accessing the Healing Power, the Vagus Nerve.
So we're gonna put that in the notes at the end of this,
surely,
because it was backwards.
Oh.
It's mirrored. It's okay. So Jen will put that in the comments on this afterwards.
Yeah, sure. I can definitely do that. But anyway, I'm going to explain it really quick. And then everybody, you guys are welcome to do this with me. So the first thing that we're going to do is we cross our hands and we put them behind our head. And then we're going to keep our heads very straight. And we're just going to do some eye movements together. Okay. Mm-hmm. And in the process of doing this, it's going to take a different amount of time for each of you. So depending on, how reactive you are, it might take a little bit longer. If you're already calm and everything, it might be really quick. But one of the things to know, be sitting down or laying down. Please don't be standing, driving, anything else, trying this. Okay? Because
Safety first.
there is a drop in blood pressure that we can feel. If you're really sensitive, you're going to really feel it. Okay? So it's calming the entire nervous system. And so you don't want to get up quickly with that. You definitely don't want to be in any way setting yourself up for falling or anything like that. So okay, so here we go. I'm gonna cross it over and just relax. Lay back and relax. Okay, I'm going to sit up so you can see what I'm doing. So keeping my head really straight. And I'm going to just look to the right as far as is comfortable. Okay, so we're not straining here. We're just comfortably looking to the right. If it hurts to keep your eyes open, you can close them and put your eyes to the right as well. But the idea is you're just going to stay here until you get a yawn, a swallow, or a sigh. Right? And so a sigh is that you start to inhale and then you
I'm already doing it. There we go.
Yeah. So once you've had that, again, a yawn, a swallow, or a sigh, come back to center and give your eyes a rest for a second. Breath in and out. Now let's go to the left. And again, we're just going to stay here comfortably till you get a yawn, a swallow, or a sigh. Right? And when you're done, you can come back to center. You can bring your arms down. Sometimes I like to just kind of rest them at my heart and take a breath in and out. Really ground into that calming presence, calming experience. You can say thank you to my nervous system, my little Anne's for getting itself back on track.
So it's moving energy too, guys, because that's what the yawn and stuff is actually you moving that energy through the body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from an energetic standpoint, right? Where we're putting our hands is huge for where energy is coming into our system, where we're receiving energy, where we're receiving messages, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because that's like the mouth of
Right?
God, right? Back there. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The swallow is bringing moisture back into our mouth. So another fun fact, when we're stressed, when we're in our fight or flight, you might notice your mouth gets really dry. Yeah, it's because certain systems in the body, digestive being one of them, begin to shut down when we're in those states. So creating saliva in the mouth, even just drinking some water, swishing it around, things like that can actually help calm the nervous system.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why swallow is in there. Again, yawn is that releasing.
I'm doing that. I'm
energy.
struggling to not, apparently I need to release.
Oh, yeah. And then, of course, the sigh, right, is that taking in more oxygen and then letting that out very deeply, right? So on a lot of levels, there's all of that. And then if we want to get into the reprocessing part, the eye movements and the occipital lobe, it's helping us process stuff that we're struggling with. So there's a whole lot of stuff behind this. I just give you the exercise and I don't really talk much about all of that.
And that's kind of what it is, eh? So
yeah, but it's a really fantastic exercise, especially right now. Right? Lots of emotions come up. We want to resolve them. Right? That's kind of human nature. We either want to hide from them or we want to go right into it and try to resolve them. Taking that time, doing the exercise, grounding ourselves, coming back to center, and then moving forward is really powerful and really helpful to bring in courage and navigate in a way that is correct for us and it's going to serve us, not something that's going to end up causing us later to go, what the heck was I thinking?
Exactly. None of us like those moments. But keep in mind, sometimes those moments happen and it's because we have to learn something in the situation. Doesn't mean that it's comfortable, right?
No.
So.
No. And again, we go back to, nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And yet, at the same time, if we have the ability to navigate something in a way that we want to,
we're going to want to do that.
why not try it?
Indeed. So big hello to Shakiri. We have a new person on, Shakiri. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. So when we talk about courage and really finding that inner strength, what do you guys do to connect with your inner strength? How does that show up for you? Right? I'd love to hear from you guys about what,
Yeah. And for me, it's, crystals are a great source of that for me. Tapping into, your root and sacral chakras for that. So things like red jasper, carnelian, those are all about that courage to kind of create and be and ground, and they have beautiful energy to help support us with that. Even things like the black tourmaline and stuff help to give us that sort of, okay, I can do this kind of feeling is what comes up for me with that. So I think it's kind of, those are good for that aspect. Things like garnet, those are also good. They're very root chakra based. So they help us to feel secure, right? Which gives us a little bit more of that courageous feeling to go forward.
Yeah.
So I think for crystals, that's a good one. What about you guys? We have a couple people on. Anyway, even if we don't have anybody commenting now, if you're watching this after the fact, please go ahead and comment, right? Because maybe what you do is helpful for somebody else too, when we can tap into that stuff, right?
Yeah.
What about essential oils? We don't have Ruth on today. She's our essential oil guru, but essential oils are great for that too, right?
Yeah.
What comes to mind is cedarwood for me, because it's grounding and it's like, but also peppermint. Because I don't know whether I don't know if I'd mix them, but peppermint is a great one for like motivation, right? So if your courage is wrapped up in that sort of lack of motivation, the peppermint can kind of help to make you feel like going forward. For me, anyway.
Definitely. I love frankincense. It's just fantastic, and I've always loved it.
I did have it here, but I don't see it.
And frankincense is really good for courage. It's really good for that kind of self-empowerment feeling. And so I really lean towards that one.
And I think sandalwood might be another one, right?
Yeah. That would
Let
be
me
a
check.
good one too. Oh, do you have something to check?
Because it's sandalwood. I'm going to check and see if I feel courageous.
I love how you could just. Actually, I think I have. Let me see if I can reach it here.
Yeah, it's because it's a very like
the oils.
It's like grounding but uplifting at the same time. Sandalwood.
That would be a good one then.
So to me, that's a good. Remember to always use your essential oils safely.
Oh, most definitely.
With your carrier oils.
Yeah, and if Ruth was on, she would be saying now.
That's right. She'd be telling us.
Make sure.
She's our guru. When you see classes by her, you should sign up because she's awesome. She's so diligent. She's like this. She's that science girl, you know.
I don't think I do.
No, it's very nice. It's very awakening too. Sandalwood. This one is Hawaiian sandalwood. So this one is a doTERRA one. I don't know if it'll go clear. There we go. Oh, other way. There we go.
Nice. I think though it's important too to experiment with it.
True,
right?
because some may find it's different. Yeah.
Right. Like I was thinking about it too. Like Ruth, I love lavender. Ruth
He
does not
doesn't
like lavender.
I like lavender
right?
too.
And so, right, but that's the thing is we all have different things that we like or that we're drawn to. And so, trying out different things to find what works for you can be really beneficial.
I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. And some people might want to, calm and
Yeah.
meditate. Right. Some people might want to use some of the energy medicine stuff, or maybe even some brain gym activities to really like ground and connect.
And journaling. To work it out, right? To work out what you want to do or how you want to do it, or because some of us need to process it by having a plan, right? We have to plan it out.
Yeah.
And if we have a plan, then it gives us courage to go ahead and activate that plan or to, act on it. But if some of us, I mean, I'm a planner, but I'm not.
Yeah. Well, you're also an emotional authority, so you have to ride the wave before you know what you're going to do. Anyway.
Yeah, sometimes there's a lot of waves before I get there.
Right? Yeah. Somebody who is a self-projected authority, though, they have to talk it out. And not talk it out in the sense of like, well, what do you think? It's like, I have to just say this and see how I feel when I say it. Then I'll know. Right? And sometimes there's not always a sounding board. So you say it to yourself or you write it down.
Yeah. Right? I've had clients that do that with me a lot,
really
actually. Sometimes they just need to even send me a text and then they're like, okay, I know what to do. I'm like, okay, glad I can help.
I love that, especially when friends or clients or anybody is like, yeah, so this happened and I don't know what to do, but blah, 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 blah. Oh, no, never mind. I know what to do now. It's like, good, I'm glad I can help. But that's what they need, right? They need that sounding board to be able to just get it out, and then they know how they feel as they're expressing it. Right? And it's like, oh, no, that doesn't work for me. Well, blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah, no, that works for me. Okay. Now I know what to what to do or how to navigate that.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Right. And so how we tap into our courage is going to be different for each of us.
Depending on our
right? Like I'm splenic authority. So I have to stop thinking about it and I have to just get that intuitive hit. Right? In the moment. Oh, this is what I'm doing. And if I don't do it right then and there, it's gone.
I tend to do that, and then it's not so good for me. Yeah.
But that's why we're all so different, right?
Yeah. I do have to use my intuition in making decisions because that is a big part of me. But I find that
but for the really important life changing decision kind of things, that's where it really matters.
Yeah, it takes me time. Yep.
That's okay. Reflectors have to wait the lunar cycle.
Oh my.
Before they make a big decision.
That's a long time, guys. That's like a month. Sometimes my emotional waves are only like, a few minutes, and then I can make a decision.
Yeah. So again, when we talk about courage too, we have to recognize that courage is not just plowing through stuff. Right? It's not about relieving that pressure.
Yeah.
Right? It's really about how do I navigate and what is appropriate for me in navigate.
I just realized I'm wearing orange, which is a good one for courage. Right? Orange and red, those are good colors. So if you're having to make a decision, putting on some red or orange can also help you to step into that. The orange is like almost that self-empowerment, Orange to yellow would be like self-empowerment. So if that's the area you're struggling with, I would go with that.
Cool.
Put something on. Yeah. And then it just came to me. They're like, tell them about the orange. I'm like, okay, I don't know what to say about the orange. And then I started saying it. So they told me to tell you about the orange. And actually it's in the card too, right? We've got the yellow, orange, red into intuition, the purple. So so tell them about the orange. That's what I did. See, I just do what I'm told. That's what I do.
I love that.
I know you do too, Jen. We just do what we're told by them, just to be clear.
Yes, not by
not always in our lives, but
yeah,
the guides, those guys.
Yeah, but courage is a beautiful quality to embrace through all of the turbulence that comes at us. and whatever tools or things that come in to help us embrace that, whoever we can call into our lives to help us embrace that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I know even Tanis and I have talked about this so many times before, where it's like, oh, this is what's going on. This is what I'm feeling. I don't know what I want to do about it. I just
Yeah.
need to talk it out.
Yeah.
And having the courage to be vulnerable and to share your experiences.
And having your tribe. So when we talk about calling people in, like, call in your tribe, guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's really helpful. And for us, like, I'm so blessed because I have an awesome tribe, and it's growing every day, not just our group, but also like the community, right? The Twillow lifestyle community, it's growing like every day. And we're building on that. And there's the membership site, and there's the group on Facebook. And, I encourage you guys to join us and really get involved, because that's where we find our tribe, is with like-minded people. Right. And it's not all like-minded people. I mean, you're going to know when you meet that person that's part of your tribe,
Yeah.
Like Jenna and I knew right away. We're like, I know you.
I've known you for quite a while.
That's what we're contemplating writing a book, actually, right? About all of our past lives together, because we've had so many together. That it'll be a fascinating journey. And some of our others have all, been part of that as well, which we're so pleased to be meeting up with them again as well. So big shout out to Tarot Stash. Gerald has joined us. Yes, asking for help indeed takes courage. Yeah.
It does.
Because it creates that vulnerability. So indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. And with that, again, knowing your tribe and who you can turn to and all is really valuable, because it helps enhance that courage sometimes, especially when it's something that, we're really vulnerable about.
And having people that you hold space for. So in terms of you being the tribe for somebody else, right? Holding space is such a beautiful gift. And what I mean by that is being able to be that sounding board without judgment. Right? Without
so huge,
like bringing universal love into the situation, unconditional love, right? Because everybody makes mistakes, everybody does stuff, everybody, ain't none of us perfect, guys. Sorry, so we all make mistakes. We all have stuff that we need that sounding board for.
Yeah,
so,
and being that sounding board can take courage too.
Absolutely.
Especially if, it's a triggering conversation, something that brings up stuff for you, or it's about something you did, right? Like there's a lot of courage needed to be able to navigate that. And on a like clairsentient, empathic, all of that kind of thing, there's also courage in there of, can I hold space for this and be there for this person and not take it on for myself?
Yeah.
And not own everything that I'm feeling and everything that I'm kind of tapping into. Right? And so there's opportunity there for growth and connection, but there's also that risk of overextending, right? And so finding that balance and tapping into that inner strength.
Yeah.
To
be that person. Yeah. Absolutely. It's it's quite an interesting journey when you start getting into those kind of authentic conversations, right? The ones that can be challenging, but they can often be super rewarding as well. Because not only can you hold space for somebody else, but even when you're holding space, you can notice yourself, like, what is this triggering with me, right? And try not to be involved in theirs if you're holding space, but you can just notice, oh, when they talk about this, my stomach goes, what is that in me? Why is that triggering me? So it's an opportunity for us to learn about ourselves just by holding space for somebody else. I mean, I find that with my clients a lot, right? I'll be being that space holder, right? And they'll be talking about their own stuff, and I'm like,
well, that's interesting.
inside I'm going, that's triggering me. Why is my stomach doing that? Okay, I'm gonna look at that later, right? It's like it's like being a detective, an inner detective, right? You're looking for the clues as you go through those conversations.
Yeah, definitely. And being able to recognize it within yourself and not react from it.
Exactly.
Is really big. Like, I know we talk a lot in psychotherapy and counseling and all of that, the idea of transference and countertransference, right? Clients have transference on it's fine. It's part of the process. It's part of what we work through together. But really keeping in check that countertransference that we have with the client is a really important process because, we have to hold that space.
Yeah, that's what we're there for.
Exactly. And yet it can even be a beautiful thing sometimes to say, wow, it's interesting because as you talk about this is what's triggered in me. I wonder if this is what gets triggered in a lot of people when you talk about this experience. Can we look at that? Can we navigate that?
Exactly.
Right? And so there's beautiful ways to use it on so many levels if you're doing it from that place of love and compassion and understanding that, both are able to grow in that moment.
Well, and I think that's so valuable to be able to be vulnerable, because really when we have clients, we're creating a trust, right? We have to create that rapport with people. And when we're able to be a little bit vulnerable, it helps our clients to be able to be a little bit more vulnerable as well, because it creates that balance, that people need to feel like they're in a safe space, to feel held.
Well, and people feel each other's energy even if they don't necessarily want to admit it, right?
Yeah,
So
for sure.
actually, Gerald has the comment there.
Oh yeah, holding space.
This could be a great topic for a future live.
Absolutely.
I love that, and I think that it really could be because there's so much to it.
Yeah,
That it really could be its own topic. So thank you for that.
for sure. Thank you. And a shout out to this is Shamina. Hey, Sham.
Yeah.
So yeah, Michelle was on earlier. I think she may still be on. So yeah. If anybody else has any other ideas for future shows too, right? We're open to all of that. So
yeah, definitely.
awesome.
Feel free to put in requests to, add it in comments, and all things that you'd love to have us talk about. We do take a look at them even after the fact. Tag us in them if you're not sure we're going to see them.
Yep, please do.
And yeah.
Thanks, Martha.
Awesome.
We appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
She says, love these talks. I always feel better after them. Awesome.
Yay. Well, and I have to admit, we're talking about courage, right? And starting to do these talks took a whole lot of courage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I remember the first time Tanis was like, okay, let's do this. And I was like, what? You want to film us and put us on the internet? What? And this was before we even did the live.
Yeah, we started with recording these guys because we were like, we want to be able to look at it before we put it out there. So, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, Jen, do it. Okay.
And we do what we're told, right? So.
Okay. And then it was like, okay, we have to do this more regularly.
Yeah.
Let's do it live. Live? What? Live? What? And again, it's that immediately noticing my own inner process of like, are you nuts? What? And then it's like, oh, okay. Yeah. All right, fine, we'll do it. Okay.
There we go. Shem says we're both
thanks,
brave.
Shem.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it really, each step of the way there is courage in there that we have to embrace, and then, be able to kind of look at it and go, okay, like, I've got this, you guys got me, we're good.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's
But
also a thing where, you don't want to, I think there's a natural rhythm to these things. We tend to kind of go out a little bit, like put yourself out of your comfort zone and then come back. Like, okay, I'm going to go a little bit out this side. No, I'm going to come back. And then I'm going to go out this side and come back. And you find at the end, you're like this, you can't see my arms, but like you're wide open into a whole new space, in terms of being able to access growth, right? It's kind of that's how it's the rhythm of growth.
And I think, like, we talk about in therapy, we talk about like exposure therapy and stuff like that, right? Like, how do I expand this if I'm dealing with something that I'm worried about or afraid of or whatever? And I remember even being in high school and having to do a speech meet in front, like, I had to do a speech in front of my class, but I was like, my class, whatever. I'm not comfortable with it, but it's just my class. And then they were like, okay, you and you and you are going to do them in front of the entire school. Well, I'm sorry, what?
Wait, what?
What? I joined drama. Because I was like, there's no way I can get up in front of my entire school and talk about this.
Yeah.
And do this and whatever. But over time and overexposing myself to it with other people and everything else, it became more comfortable.
Yeah.
Right? It was never like, I love getting up in front. No, that's never going to be the type of person I am. Yeah. But I can do it.
Yeah.
Right? And it's, again, about finding that inner strength. And sometimes we have to do that in baby steps.
Absolutely. And sometimes we do, like you say, have to get thrown into it to push ourselves. That reminds me, I was asked actually to teach at a Catholic high school, to come in and do a day workshop, or a one class workshop sort of thing, about world religions and stuff. So I went in and I was doing it, and he had asked me to stay for the day because he had a full day of classes. So I was like, okay, sure, yeah, I can do whatever it was. I don't know, 4 or 5, 4 classes, maybe like 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, something like that. So I was like, sure, I can do that. So I did that. And he said, when I arrived that morning, he said, oh yeah, and I booked the library because you're going to do 6 classes all in one room in the afternoon. I was like, oh, okay. And all of a sudden I went back to high school, where I was that girl standing at the front of the class trying to do that presentation. I was like, even though I've been teaching and speaking and I've been on stage for drama and all of that stuff, that it was like, it brought me right back to that high school front of the classroom thing. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's even that courage to step into something totally different.
Yeah.
Right. And, sometimes you walk into something and you have no idea that you were walking into what you walked into. And
okay, here we go. Daryl Stash says, yeah, unexpected audience for sure. It was.
Most definitely.
Definitely. Fortunately it went well. I just pretended I was in front of the one class and it went fine, but it was and of course that goes back to your programming, right?
Yeah.
Because in high school I did have one presentation that I wasn't prepared for. It was my own fault. I was not prepared, and became a bit of a babbling so-and-so and didn't go well, right? Because I wasn't prepared.
That happens.
Yeah. So that was the trigger, right? It took me right back there, and I'm like, and then I had to tell myself, okay, it's okay, I'm prepared. I've already done it 3 times today. Yeah. It's the same presentation. You can do this. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's amazing how even in that, like, we can be used to something and then a small part of the dynamic changes.
Yeah.
or a big part of the dynamic changes, but like some part of it changes and you're just like,
wait, what?
well, I can't do that. And you're like, well, it's actually not any different than what I've been doing, but
Yeah.
in the moment, again, we're going right back into that survival brain.
Exactly. That's what happened.
Shuts it all off, and it's just like, I can't do that.
So that's where you're going to do the little exercise that Jen did with us today and release.
Yeah, do the basic exercise. Holy moly, if I had known that years ago.
I know, me too. Me too. Anyway, we always learn these things in just the right timing.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
So tap into that inner courage, you guys. You got this. We're never alone. We always have our guides, right? And each one of you has your tribe. So tap into your tribes.
Yeah. And the turbulence is not here to throw us off. It's here to push us towards transformation.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, Gerald says that he's always doing prep for his lives. Yeah. Some say I over prepare, but it's what I need to do. And that's good. That's okay. I think for that kind of thing, I think what that's doing is triggering your inner courage. Right? So when I didn't prepare, I didn't trigger my inner courage in high school. So it's all good.
Well, and it's different for each person, right?
Exactly.
Somebody who has a lot of prep time may absolutely love it, and it helps to enhance their courage. Somebody else, it might actually stimulate the anxiety.
Yeah.
Right? And so know thyself, we go back to that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
knowing what we need and how we need to navigate, and not trying to fit somebody else's description or somebody else's idea of what that should look like, but really honoring what works for us is key.
Yeah. See, I'm actually the opposite, Gerald. When I when I prep, wrong mouth today. When I prepare, the preparation process makes me anxious. Whereas if I just jump on here and start talking, I'm not as anxious. It's not because I haven't had to think about. I tend to be a ruminator. The rumination creates anxiety for me. So when I don't have time to ruminate, I don't do that, right? But we're all different.
That is it. Well, and I think that's the thing too, right? We talk about authentic spiritual conversations, and that works for both of us.
That's right.
Because we're good with just jumping in and having no prep. There are times where we look and go, oh, and then immediately it's like, what do you want me to say? Because I don't know what to say on this.
Yeah. You may see us do that sometimes. We'll like pause and we'll be like, often we're listening. So we're like, oh yeah, okay. Like the orange thing. Talk about the orange.
Definitely.
So yeah. So we bring in our courage whenever we do stuff that we're not as comfortable with. And we're actually over our time today, which I think we could go on for much longer. We have one more comment here from Gerald. I understand what you mean. I prepare and then forget everything as soon as I start. I've done that throughout my career. Yeah, well, it brings it to mind for you, though, right? So even the prep work, even if you forget, I think that it's great because you're trusting that your brain's going to kick in, which is awesome. Yeah. Did you guys notice his little icon? You have to see his little smiley. It's perfect. Look at his smiley. Oh, awesome. Yeah. And see, it looks like him. It's so cute. I love his stash.
Very cool.
Check out his site, guys. It's great. Tarot Stash. He's on YouTube and probably I think he's on Facebook and stuff too. Yeah. So he's on a few channels, probably all of them, like the rest of us.
Maybe we could get him on here at some point.
Well, I'm hoping. Yeah, I'm hoping. Hopefully you'll
not out there.
We'll have to talk, Gerald.
Yeah.
And then, we can either pick a topic or you can pick a topic since you like to
compare. Or we could talk about holding space.
We could talk about holding space. There we go. Perfect. Aw, awesome. Send him an invite. Absolutely, you're on. We'll chat. Awesome. So thank you all so much for sharing your energy with us today and, chiming in about your courage and allowing us to share about our courageous moments and not so courageous moments. We thank you all for joining us. And Jen, do you want to tell them where they can reach you?
Sure. You can find me at Twillow Lifestyle, and you can find me at My Holistic Self. You can find me at Facebook at Holistic Self Counselling. But yeah, my website is the best, and it has links to everything else on there, including Twillow. So
awesome. Yeah. You can find me at twillowlifestyle.ca and of course on Facebook and all of those guys. We got, a bunch of them going on. So, awesome. We have a response from Gerald. Yes, holding space is so important.
Definitely.
Perfect. Awesome. So stay tuned for that, guys. Thank you so much. And next week, we have a little bit of a change in schedule for us. We will be going from 4:30 to 5:30 or just before 5:30, right? For next week on Monday. Okay, slight change for next week in our live schedule. And we've got some other stuff happening during the week. And but we will be looking forward to seeing you all there. And thank you for joining us here on Twillow Talk. Sending you all tons of love and light for the week ahead. Final words, Jen?
Just remember, ride the waves. It's part of this human process. Bring in that compassion, and it'll get you through.
Breathe and do the exercise. Self-care. As we send you tons of love and light, guys. We'll see you next week. Twillow Talk. Bye for now.